Thank you so much, Leonardo, and good morning to everybody. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Today, we are going to have I can say, a conversation around this topic that is smart grids and renewable energies integration in the era of energy transition. It is a quite interesting topic, so let us see. This is the content of the topic of today's class. So it's not too long. And such way you can ask question. And I don't know if it is the first time for some of you, but those who don't know me, I'm Robenson Jean, and my real background is electromechanical engineering, and also um, I have a background in energy engineering, and also I'm working in the energy sector, precisely in energy conversion system, energy storage, electrical grid, and renewable energy integration. So today's class is around the smart grids and the renewable energy integration in the era of energy transition. The fact is, we are in a period in the lifetime of the planet where it is most to think about the energy transition. Why? The fact is, we have a growing demand, we have a growing a rate of carbon dioxide emission, and we have to think about the efficiency, the decarbonization, and also to give an answer to the increased energy demand. So the trend should be the increase of energy access, not the opposite. So in order to arrive at that point, we are thinking about a lot of things. We are trying a lot of things in the energy sector, such as renewable energy integration, the behavior of the consumers, and energy storage system. And nowadays, there is another good approach that we can do, and it is the smart grid. But first of all, if we are talking about the smart grid, let us see what is precisely an electrical grid. I'm a little bit sure that most of you has electrical background, but just to be on the same line, I will make this brief presentation of an electrical grid. What is the electrical grid? Normally, the electrical grid is the whole system that we use in order to transfer the energy from the power plant to the end users. It is something just like that. It is not complicated to understand, but and if we are trying to see what do we have between the power plant and the end users, we will see that there is some important structures, like we have the transmission lines, we have the substation, we have the distribution lines, and the protection system. The transmission line, this is about distance, and also it is about the voltage. Why do we have the transmission line? The transmission line, it is because we produce and power plant at low voltage or medium voltage. But what will happen if we transfer the energy with this low voltage? In fact, when we are producing with high power. And remember that power is equal to voltage times current. So if the power is high and the voltage is low, so the current will be high. And also remember that the formula to calculate the losses and the line, it is losses equal the resistance of the line times the square of the current. So if the current is high, so the square of the current will be higher, and the power or the power loss will be higher. So in order to reduce the power loss, so what we do, we increase the voltage. So if we increase the voltage, remember that power is equal to voltage time current. So if we increase the voltage, so the current will be low. So if we have a low current, so when we make the calculation for the losses and the line, so this will be lower. So this is in order to avoid losses, so we increase the voltage. But when we arrive at the distribution center, we have to use a substation. The substation, here we have protection equipment and also transformers, and in order to lower the voltage again. So as in the distribution center, we are dealing with short distance, so it is okay. We can share the energy with high voltage with a medium voltage. So here we have a medium voltage, and when we arrive at the distribution center here, where we have some cities, so we can lower the voltage again from medium voltage to low voltage, and the low voltage is what we use in our house. So it is the voltage usable for household. But remember that at some point you can have some industrial client that can connect at the distribution level. So globally, this is what we have as an electrical grid. So we remember the main part. We have the generation, the transmission line and distribution line, and at the end, we have the customer. So let us see which type of grid that we can have. Sometimes you can hear about transmission line and distribution line. So I already explained what is the transmission line. It is when we are dealing with very, very great distance. So it is important in order to avoid losses, ohmic losses. And we have distribution grid. Distribution grid, it is when we are in urban environment, it is important. But when we are dealing with places or with cities that is a little bit far from other cities, or far from big cities, or far from the main grid, so a good approach is to use a microgrid. The microgrid is a sort grid where we have a power generation, we have the distribution, and also at the same place we have the consumers. But this grid is also connected to the main grid, but with the possibility to put it in islanding mode. The islanding mode is when, for instance, if we have a power outage or a fault in the main grid, so we can disconnect this microgrid from the main grid in order to keep on producing, to keep on supplying the consumers of this specific place. And we have the off-grid. The off-grid is like a case of microgrid where we are not connected to the main grid. So we are completely operating in islanding mode. And the nanogrid is a type of grid that is designed just for a household or for a building or a group of household. Sometimes they are talking about mesh grid, so they have their own generation, and it's more a very small, I'm sorry, a very small distribution, and they are the consumers. And for extension, they have we have some concept like super grid and mega grid. So these are when we are at the continental level or regional level, it is like a super layer that interconnect the electrical grids of various places, like the electrical grid of various countries. For instance, in Europe, we do have not we they do have super grid that interconnect the electrical grid of various countries and the European Union. And at the end, we have the smart grid. That is the main point that we'll discuss about in today's class. So this we'll see it later. And according to the size of the electrical grid, this help us to identify how we classify the electrical grid. It is about the voltage. When you're dealing with less than 1000 volt or 1 kilovolt, so it is a low voltage. And medium voltage is between 1 kilovolt and 36 kilovolt. And above 36 kilovolt and under 150 kilovolt, it is about high voltage. And above 150 kilovolt, we are dealing with extra high voltage, very volts. But the fact is, when you are dealing with the electrical grid, it is not something that is very easy to handle or something without difficulties. We do have a lot of issues in the operation of electrical grid. And first of all, we have to talk about the environmental impact of conventional power generation, because with the conventional power generation, sometimes we have to deal with waste that are very bad for the environment, and sometimes it is about water pollution, and sometimes it is about air pollution, like fluid generation. There is a lot of carbon dioxide emission. So this is a very big problem with the conventional power generation. And also when we are dealing with electrical grid penetrated by by uh, renewable energy sources, as we know that these sources are intermittent, and most of the time, so we have to deal with the variabilities. But I think in the previous classes, we already have some techniques to mitigate the variabilities of renewable energy sources. But they still remain some issues and the marker of the operation of electrical grid. And also sometimes we have to deal with fault. Sometimes it is due to technical reason. Sometimes it is due to some natural reasons, like hurricane or car crash sometimes. And the most common faults are line-to-line fault. It is when a line meet another line because remember that the transmission sometimes is being handled by three-phase line. So when uh, two line meet, so we have a line-to-line fault. But when a line meet the ground, so we are talking about the ground to line or line to ground fault. And there's a degree of imbalance, like when uh, each phases are not carrying the same load or the same fraction of load. So in this case, we have what we call the grid imbalance, and we have to manage that rapidly. And also how to avoid loss, to avoid losses, power outage, that is for me, it is the worst case, and also economic damage. So there's two have a very close relationship. So if you have power outage, for sure, consequently, you'll have economic damages. So due to these issues, the challenges are try to improve the system so we can have a very good energy balance, so we can provide energy of quality to the consumers, and also to ensure them that we have a system very reliable and sustainable, and try to give us some flexibility to the system so we can deal rapidly to some outage and to give a fast response. And also there is the concept of resiliency that is very important for grid. It is a very good challenge. And also try to mitigate the energy cost, because depending on the type of power plant we are managing, or the type of system that we have, so the energy costs will be different. For instance, if we have a system with battery storage and with solar and with fossil fuel generation, the cost will be different if we have another set of power sources. So this is something that we will see later. And the best thing is the decarbonization, and that is the main topic for the energy transition. That is very important. And as solution, we have the grid management. The grid management is where we decide how we are going to supply, or how we are going to meet the demand, how we are going to make this game of offer and demand, in order to have a satisfaction and to recover the the amount of money that we should as a provider. And sometimes we have to make compensation or regulation. For instance, when we are transferring energy over a long distance, sometimes at the head of the line, we have some voltage drop. So in order to deal with this voltage drop, sometimes what we do, it is to implement a process of regulation in order to increase again the voltage. And the conventional power plant, in most of the time, we are dealing with a centralized power system, where we have a power plant at a given place, And this power plant is responsible to supply all the load that are around. But there are another types of system that we can implement, and we can talk about the decentralized power system, where we can have various power plant, and it can be renewable energy based power plant, or it can be other little conventional power plant. And in this case, it helps us to minimize the distance between the power station and the consumers. So at this point, we can suppress the transmission line, so we can transfer the energy directly from the power plant to the consumers with a distribution line with the medium voltage. So it is a way to minimize the cost in order to minimize the final cost of the kilowatt hour. And we can implement an energy storage system. We already talked about the energy storage system capabilities in some previous classes, and also the renewable energy integration. And now another point, it is about the modernization and the technological innovation. And this is what can help us to come up with some innovation and the power system, such as the smart grid. Now, let us make an overview on the situation of the renewable energy. So, when we are talking about renewable energy, in fact, we should consider that there is an effort or a big effort that is being made since a lot of years in order to increase the percentage of electricity of renewable-based electricity share, because what we are using as energy, it is a mix. In this mix, we have energy from various sources, like from coal, from fossil fuel, from hydroelectric power plant, and also from other renewable energy-based power plants. So if we are trying to see here, what we have here, it is the evolution of the contribution of renewable since the year 2000. So let us see. We can see that the yellow one, the blue one is for solar, and the light blue is for solar, and the okay, the green is a little bit darker, and we can see that the contribution of rain since the year 2000 was always higher than the solar, but they expect to have a change in these trends, by the year of 2027. So the contribution of solar will be higher. But I can tell you that last year, in 2023, we had a record in the share of solar energy and wind energy. The total was around 49.3%. This was the contribution of the two types of renewable energy sources, and it was the first time that they reach this level. So they are expecting that in the upcoming years, the contribution will be higher. But also we can see that if we are making the total of all the renewable energy sources, electricity based, so we can see that by the year of 2000, it was less than 20%, but nowadays it is almost 45%. But no, not nowadays. Nowadays it is around 30%, but they expect it to be around 45% by the year of 2028. But this is a way to which, or this is effort that are being made in order to reach the net zero carbon emission and by the year of 2050. Now, in order to have a comparison based, in order to compare the which type of energy that are more interesting in this point of view, so there is this factor, and it is the levelized cost of operation of energy. And this is the value that we had for the first half of the last year. So we can see that the price in US dollar per megawatt hour, it was higher for hydrogen and lower for onshore wind, and a little bit higher for offshore wind. As the offshore wind, it is on the sea, so it is much more technologies to use. So that's why it is a little bit higher, and also we have more transmission line to use in order to take the energy from the sea and to arrive on the shore. So it is more complicated. So we can see that this is one of the main reasons why the contribution of wind and solar and the energy mix is increasing during those years. And also another important thing, it is the fact that if we are comparing the solar PV fixed axis and the solar PV tracking axis, we can see that the price per unit of energy for the solar PV tracking is higher. Why? It is because to implement the tracking system, it is much more technologies. So obviously, the price will be higher because in the system, what they are doing, the captation of solar irradiance with a system that is moving. Sometimes it is with one axis, like to track the direct irradiance of the sun during the days, and sometimes it is with two axes when we are trying to track it during the day and during the year. And if we are trying to see the evolution of the LCOE, it is once again, it is a value that helps us to compare the price per unit of energy produced. And if we are comparing the evolution of this price per unit of energy produced for various sources, we can have that we can see that from 2009 to 2023, the cost for wind and solar was always low, but we can see that the cost for storage is really decreasing. That's why nowadays the energy storage system is a very good option in order to deal with some issues in electrical grid, such as peak shaving, power outage, power shortage, or to increase the autonomy of systems. It is a very interesting technology as the cost per unit of energy is decreasing. So it is very interesting. So it is very interesting to to look for this data as when we are trying to implement a project, they are the data that are very useful for decision making. But you cannot base only on the price in order to choose which type of energy that you will use in your project, or which type you will use in the mix of energy that you will do, because sometimes the price can be very low, but if the carbon emission for this technology is very high, so it is not a good option when we are seeing when we are taking the point of view of environmental impact and also social impact. So that's why it is very important to consider this. And if we are seeing the global emission from this year to nowadays, so we can see that the carbon dioxide emission is increasing. So as it is increasing, we have to do an effort in order to decrease this rate of emission of carbon dioxide. So now let us see what is the contribution of each type of energy sources, like it's an ecological footprint. But this is measuring in a gram of carbon dioxide equivalent per kilowatt hour. So this consideration is not made for a precise year, but it is made for the life cycle basis. So this means that we consider that on the lifetime of a coal power plant, for instance, so it will produce this amount of carbon dioxide per each unit of kilowatt hour produced. So, one ecological footprint for wind offshore and nuclear, that is a clean energy. But sometimes people are a little bit afraid. It is just because of the radioactive waste, but not in terms of carbon dioxide emission. But for coal and biomass and natural gas, we can see that the amount of emission is very high. So take this into account when you're going to implement a project. So the challenge to consider that in the energy transition framework, so we have to think about the growing energy. We can see that de énergie demain. De, et- et-
Oh, Jean, you are cutting off. You might want to check your connection, please.
but for check my mind,
And it seems that our presenter lost connection, so please give him a couple of minutes to reconnect. He should be back with us soon.
Hello?
Yes, Jean, I can hear you, and we can hear you. Um, please,
Okay,
sure, go ahead and please share the presentation again because you lost connection, so you should be good to go.
okay, very good. Mm, Let me share it. The moment.
Okay,
Okay,
it seems that our presenter is back. Jean, can you hear me?
see, yes,
It's all good? Excellent.
yeah,
Okay, there you go.
that's
Welcome
good.
back, Jean.
Once
Welcome
again,
back, and then floor is yours again.
okay, once again, thank you so much, and for my apologize for this unexpected issue with my internet connection. I'm so sorry. So, uh, we're going to continue with this presentation, and I was saying that an interesting fact to see is the the global demand raise is mostly due to the Asian region. As we can see, it is in this region that we have the more interesting growth. And this is the change year by year and the electricity generation. So we can see that on the five or for for last years. So we can see how is the change like for renewable based electricity generation. We can see that it is increasing since 2019. But we can see that due to the pandemic, we can see for coal, there is a decrease in the coal power plant based electricity generation. And this was a good news. This was a good fact. But unfortunately, the year after, they start again with some with some addition and generation, and this is something that is going to generate more and more uh, emission. But when we have the yellow and the positive side, it is a good fact as the renewable energy production do not produce carbon emission. So this is our fact. Now let us see the change in the carbon emission year by year. So from 2008 to before last year. So the first half, we can see that it is only in the pandemic period, we have a decrease from 2019 to, to 2020. So it was an interesting fact, but once again, the year after, uh, we had a raise and the carbon dioxide emission. That is not a good fact. And when we are seeing the cumulative renewable electricity capacity, so we can see for solar and wind, we can see that the cumulative capacity last year, the two last year were growing. It is a very interesting fact. And we are talking about thousand gigawatt in terms of installed capacity. And we expect to have an installed capacity for solar PV that is around 6,000 gigawatt for this technology. And for wind, we are going to have around 1,500 gigawatt for this technology. And then there's two, with the two, there will be almost 10,000, which will be a very interesting result. So now let us see the smart grid. And as we already talked about the electrical grid, we do know what is an electrical grid, and we also know what and which step we are and the progress for energy transition, and also we do know the capabilities of renewable energy sources. Now, we're going to see what is a smart grid. The smart grid is like a normal electrical grid, but what we do, we implement a two-way information and communication technologies in order to transfer data. So at the same time, we are transferring energy, we are transferring data. And while we are transferring data, we are transferring data in order to have a cost-effective system and a system with faster response and a system that can help us to to identify rapidly the fault and the position of the fault and also with more metering system in order to avoid the losses and to provide better quality of energy and more secure energy, more reliable energy to the end users. And the system is designed to to operate automatically and with handling capabilities. So now let us see what is the key components of what are the key components of a smart grid. We remember that smart grid is a grid. So now let us see that. So here we can see that we do have the blue line. The blue line represents the power line, and also we have the red dash line. So this red line is for communication. So every component are communicating between themselves. Okay. So as component, we have the main electrical grid, like the backbone of the smart grid, and after we can have distributed energy resources. Like we can see that we have the power plate, and it is a conventional power plate, but we can have the integration of renewable energy sources also, like from solar or from wind, and also we can integrate energy storage system with communication. For instance, here, which type of data we can have through the communication lines. We can, for the battery, we can have data like the state of health of the battery, the state of charge of the battery, the level of voltage of the battery, if we're operating at cut-off voltage, at nominal voltage. These are data that are very important. For instance, if we want to increase or to use the full capabilities of a battery, we must not discharge the battery completely, and we must not charge the battery completely. For instance, if we're dealing with lithium batteries, so it is better to operate with 80% of the nominal capacities of the BSSS, of the battery energy storage system, in order to extend its lifetime. And there's a data in order to know in which state of charge we are operating, like in order to not go below 20% or to not go over 80%. So we can transfer this information to the distribution control center in order to know when to enable the battery storage system or when to enable the battery energy storage system. And also we have smart meters. The fact is smart meters not only measure like the consumption, they are measuring also in both directions, because in the framework of a smart grid, someone can be a consumer and at the same time a provider. or an energy producer. And at this time, we are talking about prosumer. Prosumer in Spanish, we talk about the consumidor. Yes, also, as we are managing data, so we have to get a system with a two-way communication, so data can go from the power plant to the end user, and from the end user to the distribution center. So the end user can have his software in order to handle its consumption. So it can have it can make some it can have some feedback over his consumption in order to make some adjustment or to reduce his consumption or to have in order to have a more accurate energetic behavior. And also there is the question of cybersecurity equipment as we are managing data of the line data of people. So we have to be careful with the cybersecurity because there is also the possibility of cyber attacks. Now, if we are trying to see the working principle, it is quite easy to understand. It is the same thing. If we are trying to see the backbone, we have the production, like the generation, the transmission, and also various substation in order to increase or to lower voltage when it is necessary, and the energy will go to the end user. But one thing is that the power flow management is controlling by the the distribution center, and we have real-time monitoring, we have real-time data collection in order to make the right adjustment. And also, we can make some computational data analysis in order to to increase the capability of the system, like its efficiency, reliability, and to detect losses, to detect faults, in order to make the correct adjustment. And if we are trying to make a comparison between the conventional grid and the smart grid, we can say that in the traditional one, we were dealing with only electromechanical system, but now we are dealing with electromechanical system and digital system. And we had a one-way communication for the traditional one, and in the smart grid, we have two-way communication, as the consumer can also have real-time data, as well as the operator of the grid. And in the case of traditional grid, we were dealing with manual restoration when we had a fault. But in this case, the system can make what we call an automatic recovery for self-healing in order to care it to in order to carry itself easily. And the traditional one, everyone were a passive consumer. When I say the passive consumer, it is like you are only using the energy from the grid. You cannot provide energy to the grid. But in this case, if you have a system like a photovoltaic system interconnected to the grid, if you have excess of energy, you can sell your excess of energy to the grid. So at this time, they call you prosumer, and they establish a contract with you in order to deal with the payment. And also the smart meter can the same smart meter can measure the flow of energy that is entering to your house, and also the flow of energy that is leaving your house, in order to make the energy balance for for the bill. Now, if we're trying to see the advantages, advantages, so it is better management, more reliability, more efficiency, as we are trying to reduce the losses. And if we're trying to reduce losses, also we will reduce the cost. But this, I put this asterisk, it is because it is the final cost, like the cost per kilowatt hour. But if we are thinking about the initial cost, it is another question, because the investment or the installation cost for smart grid is very high at this time, and this constitutes a very big challenge at this time. But we do have other advantages, like the real-time monitoring, the real-time reaction. Like if we have an outage, we can react easily and remotely also. And as a disadvantage, there is the risk of cyber attack and job displacement, because if we are making some automatization in the system, for sure, some people will lose their job if they do not make some upgrades and with their competencies. So it is something that will happen for sure, but unfortunately. And also we have this point, that is the stakeholders resistance, as well, uh, uh, if they do not understand, they will not go with you. So it is right. It is important to make some I can say advertising for this system that is very useful in order to present its advantages and its benefits. So there's a part of challenge, like for public acceptance, and we have to do more organization, like this kind of presentation, in order to understand better what is the smart grid and its advantages. And it is a question of modernization, because we are in an era where everything is going through IT. So it is important to think about the modernization and the implementation of computational system into the electrical grid. So the cybersecurity, if we are talking about the computational system, the cybersecurity, it is something that we have to deal with, and at the same time, the data privacy, and also the grid resilience, because the same thing that can provide us the resilience, it is the same thing that can give us some problem. For instance, if we have a computational problem, so it is possible that we could have some power outage that is not due to the electrical issue, but to computational issue. So it is important to go through new expertise area in order to handle, in order to be able to handle this kind of technologies. So it is an innovative approach, the smart grid, and there is the smart appliances, like the smart meters, smart everything is smart. Like sometimes we have smart cities. Also at home, we can have about domotics, where we can increase the comfort and some capabilities through computational system, and also we can integrate the 5G connectivities in order to increase the communication and to the smart grid, because we do know that we have two systems and the smart grid, the power system itself and the communication system. And the communication can be done with wireless system 5G system, Bluetooth, or optical fiber. Now we can see the final. We can finally see the trends for the smart grid. So the new approach is uh, renewable energy integration. And this is in order to increase the contribution of renewable energy sources into the energy mix, and at the same time to try to decrease the fossil fuel-based generation in order to decrease the carbon dioxide emission, and also implement the energy storage system. As we saw that the cost per kilowatt hour for energy storage system is decreasing for years. So it is a good option for for today. So we can implement it in order to increase the capabilities of the grid, and also the fact that the energy storage system has some communication capabilities. So it is a good thing. So we can manage it in real time and remotely. So it is very interesting in order to go this to go to this smart approach. And then we have the cybersecurity reinforcement, as we are managing data, the data for the electrical grid, and also the data for the users. So we have to protect them, and we have to protect the grid in order to avoid the cyber attack. And then as it is something a little bit new, we have to think about policies, regulatory system in order to create a common base. So everyone can be okay with what is being done in their society. And also there's the cloud-based data centers as sometimes in order to deal with such amount of data, because it is about big data. So uh, sometimes they can manage this data locally, but sometimes it is important to have a backup, to have an online backup. So that's why they are trying to make out this approach, the cloud-based data center. But it is important to have a very good connection. And also, we can see in the recent year, everyone we are talking about everyone was talking about the AI emergence. So it is something that you can take into account, because there is a lot of things that we can do with AI, because we do know that AI, if we misuse it, it can be something dangerous. But if we use it in the well and a well manner and a well way, so it is something that is very useful, something that is very good. And another thing that is very important, it is the fact that the investment in digital infrastructure and transmission and distribution grid is increasing. So there's a lot of investment that is being done in things like smart meters, automation, and management system, networking, and communication. We can see the increase in the system, and also the electrical vehicle. So these are promising trends for the implementation of smart grids. So I I advise you to make some more researches in order to see what can be done, what is possible, and what can you bring in the mix, because the result of the research is of everyone count. So I think that the world is waiting for all of us with our contribution in order to go successfully in the energy transition era. So thank you so much, and sorry for the for the connection issues. And if you have questions, right? I don't know, Mr. Leonardo, if there's a time. If there's time, I'm ready for question.
Hi, Jen. Well, thanks for the presentation today.